afternoon, media, and good afternoon, Bermuda. The government's 2025 throne speech reiterated its vision for Bermuda, which is building a fairer, more stable, and affordable Bermuda for the people of Bermuda. This afternoon, I will share the 2025 throne speech initiatives and the ongoing 2024 throne speech initiatives from the Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors. And we will deliver in alignment with the overall vision to build a fairer and more stable Bermuda. The Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors has adopted an unwavering focus on improving the quality of life for Bermuda's most vulnerable population groups, our children and youth, persons with disabilities, and our seniors, ensuring that we create inclusive and supportive communities for all. The ministry endeavors to elevate the provision of social services by strengthening our child protection laws, to introduce new legislation to support our population with disabilities, to ensure the setup of a seniors daycare facility, to steer initiatives to ensure that every person who finds themselves homeless is supported, to amend legislation to provide seniors and persons with disabilities a personal care allowance, and commence the work outlined in the Bermuda's first National Seniors Strategy. We are committed to improving the quality of life and upholding the dignity of every person in our community. I will highlight how we will forge ahead to achieve these initiatives. The ministry will conduct a full review of the Children's Act of 1998 to assess and strengthen the protection and welfare of Bermuda's children. Under this act, there is a requirement to provide care and supervision, services for children in need, to safeguard and protect children from harm, and to promote the integrity of the family. The act also covers foster care, adoption, parental responsibility, daycare, and residential homes to ensure the overall welfare of children. The Department of Child and Family Services plays a crucial role in enforcing these legislative requirements. Therefore, the team will thoroughly review each section in the Act to determine the effectiveness of its existing measures. Research will also be undertaken to ensure that best practices are in place, particularly regarding the mental health challenges faced by our young people. Where gaps are identified, legislative amendments will be proposed to enhance the safeguarding of our children. This review of the Children's Act of 1998 will align with the action items stipulated in the Child Safeguarding Committee's national policy, which is working together to safeguard children. The ministry is also taking significant steps to support and provide greater access to all persons with disabilities. Continuing with the 2024 Throne Speech Initiative, the ministry is actively developing Bermuda's first Disability Act. Becoming the first overseas territory to have the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities extended to Bermuda was a momentous achievement, and we remain committed to building upon this progress. The Office of Aging and Disability Services is leading the development of this landmark legislation, and significant progress has already been made. A comprehensive review of disability rights in legislation from multiple jurisdictions, including the Bahamas, Jamaica, the United Kingdom, and the United States and Canada, has been conducted to understand various approaches to protecting and enforcing disability rights. Examining legislative frameworks, enforcement mechanisms, and policy implementation in these jurisdictions provide valuable insights to best practices. The team has held meetings with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, who provided key guidance on strengthening Bermuda's disability rights framework. And we intend to draw lessons from the development of Jamaica's Disability Act of 2014 and their organizational structure, as well as other jurisdictions. Other consultation included discussions with the Human Rights Commission, which focused on identifying gaps in Bermuda's legal framework, influenced by the pending Disability Inclusion Survey report. Further stakeholder consultation will be undertaken with the Ministry of Education, agencies that serve persons with disabilities, and individuals with disabilities to ensure legislation is comprehensive and effective. Recognizing the need to enhance care for our seniors, the ministry remains committed to improving senior services, including the construction of a new seniors daycare facility. The site for the new seniors daycare facility has been confirmed as the Gilbert Institute School building in Paget. This facility will offer subsidized services to improve the quality of life for seniors, decrease social isolation, reduce caregiver stress, and provide essential daytime support for families with work obligations. The ministry is working closely with the Ministry of Public Works, Estates Department on renovations for this site. In February 2025, an architect was hired to create a as-built design of the existing building, and discussions have already started with an assigned project manager, Soltis and Associates. The development of the seniors daycare facility is in response to a call from families in the community. It also builds upon the 4 pillars that frame Bermuda's first national senior strategy that the ministry released in December of 2024. These 4 strategic pillars are healthy aging, empowered citizens, age-friendly environments, and community. Aging and Disability Services are actively recruiting a project manager to oversee and steer the execution of the action items associated with each of these pillars in the National Seniors Strategy. The ministry continues to work collaboratively with the charitable organization HOME on the strategic plan to end homelessness in Bermuda. Homelessness affects everyone. The ministry will be steadfast to help implement initiatives that provide holistic support to all individuals experiencing homelessness. A key component of ensuring this is gathering housing data from both private and public sector agencies to establish a unified measure of homelessness for Bermuda. To facilitate data collection, the ministry has co-funded software licenses for the case management system Inform, which will be instrumental in tracking not just the homeless population, but also the types of housing that are needed. The ministry has facilitated meetings with key charitable organizations, government ministries, and government departments to emphasize the need for collaboration in government in implementing the strategic plan and specifically gathering the data on housing. These agencies will use the Inform database system to provide critical data that will inform policy decisions to support housing for the homelessness. The ministry's 2024 Throne Speech Initiative, introducing a personal care allowance for clients of the Department of Financial Assistance who reside in nursing and rest homes, is near completion. This initiative saw legislative amendments made in December of 2024 to update the financial assistance regulations and table of allowable expenses. As a result, financial assistance clients in licensed nursing and rest homes will receive a personal care allowance of $100 per month. Changes to the Department of Financial Assistance software system have been made to accommodate this new benefit, with the first payment scheduled before the end of this month of March of 2025. As a government, we remain steadfast in our commitment to protecting and uplifting all Bermudians, ensuring that they receive the necessary support at every stage of life. Through legislative reviews, new initiatives, and strengthened partnerships, we continue to work towards a Bermuda where every individual, regardless of age or disability, is valued, protected, and empowered. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Furbert. We'll invite now Minister of Public Works and Environment, the Honorable Jache Adams.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, members of the media, and indeed the people of Bermuda. Today, I am here to expand on the initiatives within the Ministry of Public Works and Environment's remit and reinforce our responsibility to ensure that Bermuda's infrastructure, public lands, and environment are properly maintained, protected, and managed for the benefit of all. Undoubtedly, the state of our roads, housing infrastructure, and environmental policies have been the subject of much public discussion. Whether it is road conditions, access to affordable housing, marine conservation, or air quality, these issues affect people's everyday lives. The Ministry of Public Works and Environment is focused on ensuring that Bermuda's built and natural environments function properly, serve the public effectively, and are responsive to the people's needs. One of the most immediate concerns facing the island is the condition of our roads. The wear and tear caused by extensive underground works, the ongoing need for resurfacing, and the backlog of maintenance issues have left many of our roads in an undesirable state. The government is aware of this and is committed to taking action. This year, roadworks will be accelerated with an expanded paving schedule to ensure progress as swiftly as possible. Public roads will be prioritized, but the government will also address the condition of private roads through legislative amendments allowing for greater intervention. Amendments to the Private Roads Improvement Act 1969 and the Private Roads Lighting Act 1984 will expand the minister's authority to install traffic calming measures such as safety mirrors and lighting in areas where road safety has been a growing concern. The goal is to improve road conditions for all residents and ensure that public and private roads are maintained to a proper standard. A recent example of this commitment is the completion of the Scour Hill Safety Enhancement Project. This major infrastructure initiative involved reconstructing a 230-foot retaining wall along Somerset Road, which our dedicated engineering teams delivered on time and on budget. Alternative traffic routes were seamlessly established during construction to minimize disruption and removed upon completion. This reflects the ministry's ability to execute complex projects without compromising public convenience. I would like to sincerely thank the area residents for their patience and generosity, including those who allowed us to use their properties for temporary detours. I would also like to acknowledge and pay tribute to my predecessor, Lieutenant Colonel David Birch. It was under his leadership that this project was initiated, and his commitment to improving Bermuda's infrastructure continues to be felt in the work we do today. Public infrastructure extends beyond our roads. While the Ministry of Housing is leading the charge to expand affordable housing, my ministry will play a supporting role in ensuring the necessary infrastructure is in place to facilitate this effort. Another area of significant public interest is marine conservation. In recent years, the government committed to expanding marine protected areas as part of its ocean conservation strategy. However, the voices of our local fishermen must be heard in these discussions. Their livelihoods depend on the ocean, and any policies governing its use must be both fair and enforceable. That is why the government will pause the implementation of the new marine protected areas while further discussions take place. This pause will allow us to reflect on the balance between environmental stewardship and economic sustainability. Stakeholder engagement has already led to revisions of the Marine Protected Area Network under the Blue Ocean Prosperity Plan, including adjustments to the site locations, protection levels, and access needs to accommodate shipping, infrastructure maintenance, and tourism. This work is not just about protecting fish stocks, though that is crucial. It is also about strengthening our resilience to climate change, maintaining biodiversity, and securing the long-term health of our ocean-based industries. The Ministry of Public Works and Environment will continue to be actively engaged in these discussions, working closely with the fishing community, environmental scientists, and industry representatives to develop a plan that reflects both science and the local experience. Final proposals will be guided by the input of our people and will undergo additional public consultation before submission to the Cabinet. Each of these initiatives reflects the government's broader goal of ensuring that Bermuda remains fair, stable, and affordable place to live. The work of the Ministry of Public Works and Environment is central to that vision. My ministry is taking deliberate steps to improve the quality of life of all Bermudians. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Minister Furbert. We'll open up this session to questions from the media, beginning with you, Minister Adams, starting with BBC. Gary Skelton.
Thank you very much, Minister. Sorry. Just starting from the last thing you mentioned, talking
Sure.
about the fishermen.
Yes.
And the posing the implementation of marine protected areas. Now, there's I'm sure you understand right now, there's some cynicism, it seems, from the fishing community. Even that word pause, they
Yes.
wondered, what does it mean? And essentially it's paused until there is an agreement on better data collection and enforcement. Now,
Correct.
have you met with the Fishermen's Association and fishermen yet? And can you elaborate on what that means, what you are expecting in terms of better data collection, better enforcement, and the agreement you're hoping to make?
Sure. So I will say that I've had some informal conversations with local fishermen, but the team within the Public Works and Environment Ministry is actively or in the early stages of organizing scheduled meetings. So we have not formally met with the fishermen as yet, but it is something that we're actively pursuing, and I believe the intent is to have our first formal meeting in the early April.
Okay. With obviously the review last year, the independent review of BOP last
Yes.
year, which appeared to justify a lot of the fishermen's concerns, particularly when it came to data collection and and enforcement. Would you say government got it wrong at the beginning of this? This because essentially the fishermen turned around and said, no, you haven't got the data, you can't justify what you're doing. Government appeared to be keeping going on the same road, and then an independent review indicated, well, actually, no, the fishermen may have a point. Do you concede that you're trying to correct your course?
So, yes to the second part. I would say the government is looking to correct its course. I wouldn't say the government had it wrong. I think, because wrong sort of is a bit absolute on an ongoing matter. And so we recognize that there were sort of justified reasons to relook and reconsider our position, and that's exactly what we will do.
Okay. And going back to your notes on let me just note that, the Private Road Act.
Yes.
Expanding your powers as the minister.
The minister's power, yes.
To implement certain safety measures. Now, any way of you said briefly traffic calming measures, so I'm presuming speed bumps, mirrors at the ends of junctions, things like that. Can you talk about what's prompted this to expand the minister's powers?
Absolutely. I think what we recognized is under current legislation, to implement such projects and initiatives such as mirrors and lighting and speed bumps, as you mentioned, we recognize that it could be or tends to be a rather lengthy bureaucratic process. And you will recall that the government's one of the government's focuses is to sort of remove red tape, if you will. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is make it or grant the minister greater authority to step in necessary instances where we can implement these things such as lighting and mirrors and the like in a more timely manner, because ultimately the security and safety of our people is our primary concern. And so whilst these lengthy processes take place, the people within these neighborhoods are still at risk. And so this is an opportunity for the government to step in justified manner and eliminate said risk.
Okay, and you...
Or mitigate, I should say.
Of course. And you just mentioned, talking more about public roads, the Scour Hill improvements.
Yes.
I know you're only just getting into this role, but what do you foresee being the next big project or the next couple of big projects that government that you will be undertaking as Public Works Minister on the roads?
On the roads?
Yeah.
So, on the roads it's as you can appreciate, it's the continued work of road repaving. And so...
but any specific areas that you have
absolutely
identified right now?
Absolutely. So I will give a more fulsome, as you can appreciate, more fulsome update on where we are in all matters concerning road repay or road works in the near future. But to answer your question, absolutely. So the team is currently focused on areas that are or have been recently trenched or had trench work being done. And so that is the areas that they're focused on at the moment. So you'll recall the repaving team is now on Middle Road in Southampton, working their way towards Evans Bay. And then they'll immediately focus on areas from Longford Hill heading west towards Lighthouse Hill. And as you can appreciate, those in the western area or in those areas can attest that that's where current trench work is being done. And so the road repaving team will immediately repave areas that are currently being trenched as we speak.
Okay.
Any more questions, Gary?
No, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Minister. I have just one question.
Sure.
On the pause that you mentioned for
Yes.
marine protection areas. Are you at all concerned that this pause can result in a watering down of the protection systems that the government may have planned for marine life?
Sorry.
Could you say if the pause that you
Yes.
mentioned, could it result in watering down of the systems or the plans that the government may have had in place?
No, not necessarily. This is why, we emphasize the word pause. It did not say scrap. It did not say eliminate. It meant pause, because we recognize that there are steps that needed to take place beforehand. And so we're not going to sort of push it any further. We recognize that an agreement needs to be reached. And so pause simply means pause. We're going to sort of pause the initiative, reach an agreement with the fishermen first before we look to pick it back up.
Is there a timeline that the ministry is working with?
I wish. The struggle is, even if I gave you a timeline, I don't know. As I said, I have not had even a formal meeting with the fishermen as yet. And so it's difficult for me to say how long I expect that agreement to take place, other than emphasizing the priority is to reach that agreement before we proceed forward.
Thank you, Alva. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
We're now going to invite questions for Minister Furbert, beginning with Gary or Royal Gazette.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
You mentioned seniors' care and their vulnerability. Are you concerned about, can you say if there is an immediate plan in place to protect the seniors? I'm speaking in light of the bed shortage issues that we have seen at the hospital. Are there any immediate plans or something in the short term to help those persons?
So, Gary, I want to first start by just reminding our community that there is a national senior strategy. And in that national senior strategy, we do speak to long-term care as it relates to services and programs for our seniors. And it's interesting that we raise this concern because worldwide, I recently came from a conference where we were talking about these issues that no country globally has prepared for the demographic of the increased population of our seniors. But Bermuda we have, and we're preparing, particularly with the National Senior Strategy, but also behind the scenes, we're doing work as it relates to long-term care models for our country and for our seniors. We also mentioned in the During Speech Initiative that of the seniors daycare program to be able to fulfill a gap, given this is one solution, because there needs to be many more, particularly with our increased demographic, that this will help to fill one of the measures. But there are other things coming online as it relates to more nursing home availability or beds availability, not fast enough for us. But it will take time, unfortunately, and we are towards increasing beds, particularly within government nursing homes, but also there are some private homes that are coming on board as well.
Thank you, Minister. Staying on that point of obviously last week, it was very apparent the issues we have in the community regarding the capacity issues in the hospital and being to have care in the community. The Throne speech indicated there are currently 4 care homes. They're in various phases of development. Are you able to elaborate on that? Is that does that not come under your?
No, that does
that's
not
all
come under
Ministry of Health.
Correct. Yes.
So the daycare centre, if we were to stay on that, you did just mention that it will be a subsidised service. So
Yes.
Do we have any idea of the kind of cost to the public yet, or is this coming from outside sources, subsidised by government? How is it going to work?
Correct. So this will be a government facility. What we did know coming out of COVID is that both of our government nursing homes did have daycare programs. And because of the incident of COVID and we could not mix seniors and there was no other area in which we could do that, it is important that we have something separate so that if, God forbid, that ever happened again, that we would not have to stop services, particularly for our families who had to work and needed somewhere for our seniors to go. But we're still in the development stage of the seniors daycare program, even looking at complementing it with other services for seniors, as far as being a hub for recreation services, therapeutic services for our seniors.
Okay. I was just trying to understand when you said subsidised services, does that
Sure.
mean government will subsidise
Correct.
it, or so that it's not going to be a cost to
Correct.
those who are using it?
Yes,
Right,
correct.
thank you.
Yes.
Just let me just note that one. And there was a timeline expectation that it mentioned before the election that it could be open by the end of this year. Is that correct?
So we will break ground before yes.
You will break
so
ground.
Keep in mind the site has been selected as the Gilbert Institute School. That does not close until June.
Okay.
And so we will break ground before the end of this year with hopefully it being in place for 2026.
2026.
Yes, 2026.
Okay. And going back to, just for clarity, you mentioned the personal care allowance. That's being finalised right now, and it will be happening at the end of this month, $100 per month for those who are eligible. From a budgeting point of view, what is the cost of that?
When we looked at our numbers, as far as persons who are currently in rest homes and nursing homes, and these are also clients who are already within the Department of Financial Assistance program. We have allocated funds for that program up to $400,000. And right now we are within means to be able to provide that personal care allowance with the clients who are in rest homes and nursing homes.
Do you have an idea of the number of clients that will be benefiting?
I believe it's worked out, please don't quote me, but I think it's approximately I think it's approximately, no, I don't want to say.
Okay,
I don't
no
want to
problem.
say, but I know it's in the hundreds.
It's in hundreds.
Yes.
Be able to follow up with a
Yes,
number
we can,
afterwards. Yes,
yeah.
thank you. One of the things I wanted to touch on before we leave, you noted about the children's protection laws that are going to be updated, full review of the Children's Act. So realistically, is this going to result in a move towards legislative amendments within this legislative year, or is this a
Yeah.
year for
Yeah, it
more
will be
planning and
correct.
reviewing?
There will be a year of planning for this and us going through the Children's Act. So this year we will spend the time to review the legislation with hopefully implementation of legislation next year.
Next year.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Minister.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Minister Furbert, and thank you, Minister Adams, for your presentations. This concludes today's media briefing.